Good afternoon. You're watching ABC News GH. This is the Midday News. My name's Epifani Achokotokligui. Coming up in the headlines. The leadership of the majority in Parliament caucus has petitioned Speaker Alban Bagbin for a recall. We'll bring you the reasons. Barely 24 hours after the launch of the Government District Roads Infrastructure Program, the Minority Caucus in Parliament has raised red flags. We'll hear from them. On the Affirmative Action Bill, we'll go into the sectorial breakdown and assess the proposal made to increase women recruitment. Also, proponents of the Anti-LGBTQ bill and the Osu Traditional Council are not happy with Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono. We'll hear from them. Still to come in the bulletin in business, the Ghana National Gas Company Limited will begin work on its processing plant. And on the international front, political activists in the U.S. ahead of the November election get heated as Trump calls out Kamala in a recent interview. We have this and many more stories coming up in the bulletin. Proponents of the Anti-LGBTQ bill have announced plans to demonstrate against the Chief Justice on August 21st, 2024 over what they deem as the delay in the processes towards the transmission of the bill to the President. The Supreme Court deferred the ruling on the injunction applications by Dr. Amanda Odoi and broadcast journalist Richard Skye to the transmission of the Anti-LGBTQ bill to the President and rather deliver the ruling on the same day the final judgment will be given. The lead sponsor of the Anti-LGBTQ bill, Samuel Nate George, said this when he, along with some minority members, paid a courtesy call on the National Chief Imam and the acting president of the Osu Traditional Council.
Then for his approval. Since 28th of February, it's been one story after another. Now what we hear is that there's a court case. We said, okay, fine. Let's wait for the courts to rule on the case. The courts fixed 17th of July for the case, the injunction against Parliament. On the 17th of July, when we went to court, the Chief Justice now says that she's pushed the case towards the end of the year and she wants to hear the whole case, which can even go into next year before she even rules on the injunction. Meaning that till that is done, we can't have any headway with this bill that is law. As children of God and as Ghanaians, we know it is against our religion, it's against our culture. We want to do a peaceful march on the 21st of August to the Chief Justice. Because right now it's not the President that's holding it. It is the Chief Justice. She's the one who is preventing Parliament from sending it to the President. So we don't have a problem with the President. We don't have a problem with the Speaker. Our problem is with the Chief Justice.
President Shini nunca nwe shi wo no eke yo ewe kwe ni leke gbejano to ne ekeni ni awo nsha ke ejini ni woni hini wulu ye Ghana alo Africa spon ni edomo sha ke nu eja akeshi ko ko fi ne ye je gbe kan wi oni afole ne eche ina afi nyuma pa nyon ni chon akeshi eleje nsane ni lenche je siani ayolumo ejen aketa aseno keje president ba ye kwe e mo ke ile ko mi ake e ba ye manche no achole nana akufo ado.
Well, moving away from that and into legal matters, the third accused person in the ambulance procurement trial, Richard Jakpa, who together with Dr. Kaisel Atuforsing were acquitted and discharged by the Court of Appeal on Tuesday, has dared Attorney General Godfred Dame's intention to seek for appeal on the ruling. The spokesperson for the Office of the Attorney General, lawyer Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah, made a reaction.
The Court of Appeal decision has come. Of course, we welcome it, but then it doesn't take away the right of the prosecution to appeal. We can go to the Supreme Court. Even after the Supreme Court, there can be further appeal upon review. So this decision, this whole jubilation, amongst others, is subject to the Attorney General's decision on whether or not to appeal the decision further, and the decision of the Supreme Court or any further appellate court's decision. So this is not, this at best can be described as a setback if the Attorney General decides to prosecute and decides to appeal and succeeds at the point of appeal. This would have constituted nothing but a setback.
On this same development, lawyer Adofo, a constitutional lawyer, in an interview with ABC News Ghana, had this to say.
Any lawyer who believes in this case will appeal it. Because if you don't appeal, it means you accepted the split decision as correct. But there are instances where a dissenting opinion turns out to be a majority opinion after you appeal it. And until you appeal it, this is going to stand in our law books forever. And your name will be written there. So it is absolutely imperative that any lawyer on that side will have to appeal it and see and test the law to see whether the two got it correct and the one got it wrong.
If a court of appeal decision has come, of course we will.
Well, moving on, MMDAs will soon heave a sigh of relief as the government, through its latest initiative, the District Road Improvement Program, codenamed DRIP, will enhance the decentralization of road infrastructure development, among others. DRIP, which was launched on Wednesday, July 31st, 2024, is designed to empower MMDAs with the resources and equipment necessary to rehabilitate and maintain roads within their various jurisdictions and effect meaningful changes. Now, as part of the initiative, 2,240 units of road equipment, including motor graders, backhoes, rollers, wheel loaders, bulldozers, water tankers, concrete mixers, tipper trucks, low beds, and other essential machineries, were commissioned to be distributed to all MMDAs.
These machines are not merely tools, they are instruments of change, enablers of progress, and symbols of our dedication to improving the lives of all Ghanaians. The implementation of this ambitious program will be overseen by a 4-member committee at each Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Assembly.
Irina Toshiado, the administrator of the District Assembly's Common Fund, also had this to say.
I want to thank His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for all the support that he gave to me when I proposed this initiative. To Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who did not just support, but made sure that he broke all the hurdles that I was going through, I say, Vice President Ayiko. I wish to thank the members of Parliament, especially the leadership and the local government committee, for their support in this regard when it was proposed in Parliament.
Well, meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is calling for greater transparency and accountability from the government concerning the District Road Improvement Program. Now, in pursuit of this transparency, the minority has submitted the right to information request to the District Assembly Common Fund. Joining us on the line is Alhassan Suini, and he is the MP for Tamale North. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to ABC News GH.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, first off, we want to find out what specific transparency and accountability measures do you believe are currently lacking in the District Road Improvement Program?
Well, thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to you on this very important intervention of government working together with the Parliament of Ghana. I think that if you have followed the details, you would have realized that these machinery were procured using funds that accrued to the District Assembly Common Fund. And you know that the District Assembly Common Fund is money that is approved usually with a formula by members of Parliament. And over the years, members of Parliament noticed that the Assembly Common Fund Secretariat was not properly, if you like, allocated, or the monies that were budgeted for the District Assembly Common Fund were not promptly released to the District Assembly Common Fund. And so you had arrears that the Ministry of Finance owed the District Assembly Common Fund every year. So we sat down as members of Parliament and we went through the documents and realized how much the Ministry of Finance was owing the fund. And remember, this fund was set up to improve decentralization and to ensure that funds that are meant for development are actually directly released to the local level, where the local people, through the assemblymen, will plan projects that are, beneficial to them and more impactful to them. So it is important that every allocation that is due the District Assembly Common Fund is released. But over the years, and successive governments have all, not been up to date with funds that are meant to go to the District Assembly Common Fund. So as members of Parliament, we sat down one time and we did the computation and we realized how much the assemblies were owed through the District Assembly Common Fund. And engagements led to the decision to procure these machinery for the use of the assemblies, because as members of Parliament, almost every Friday, if you come to Parliament, you will find countless number of questions filed by members of Parliament to the Minister of Roads, finding out what is done to one road or the other in their constituencies. Because when we visit our constituencies, sometimes on weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, these are the issues that we are confronted with: the road to my community, the road to my area, the road to the farming community. And every time you are asked as member of Parliament what to do or what you are doing about it. So we thought that it will be useful to get these equipments for the assembly so that they can promptly respond to some of these requests from various communities where the roads tend to be very deplorable. But having done this, we as members of Parliament, still providing oversight, do not think that it should just end there. For example, we are uncomfortable about how centralized these purchases have been, because it's not all assemblies that have the same needs. And so we would have preferred a situation where the assemblies are directly involved in determining the kind of equipment that are more useful to them. But that didn't happen, and the procurement was just centralized, and now these equipments are going to be released to the assemblies as to whether Assembly A needs backhoe or not, whether they need more excavators or more compactors. There hasn't been any assessment to determine that. We also think that value for money can be done. Perhaps we could have had these machines for cheaper than we are paying for them. And so we want to get the information relating to the purchase of the equipment, even though we don't have a problem with the assemblies being equipped with these instruments, because we actually initiated it. We thought that the purchasing of these equipment shouldn't have been centralized one, and we also want to know if indeed the equipments have been bought at competitive prices.
Okay, well, we definitely have people who would argue, they would assume that this is actually coming from just political places. But I want to find out, can you actually elaborate on the significance of the right to information request that you've actually submitted to the District Assembly Common Fund, and what outcomes you hope to achieve? Like you mentioned, you actually want to get the exact figures. Now, before you actually answer that, you did make mention of the fact that you, the minority, were able to calculate the total that government was owing the District Assembly Common Fund. And how much did this amount to?
As we speak, I do not have the figures readily available, but it was based on the quantums that were owed that the decision to procure these equipments for the assemblies, was taken. But the point I made, which I want to reiterate, is the fact that even though we know that these equipments are, dear or important at the local level because of the requests that we get every time as members of Parliament as to what we are doing with about the deplorable road nature in our various communities. We do not want that to be used as basis to disadvantage the poor taxpayer. So we want to ensure that the purchases actually meet the highest standards. We want to ensure that there's value for money. We do not want the equipment later on through the Auditor General to find out that they were inflated, and we could have gotten them for less than we are currently paying. And that's why we are seeking to get the information from the District Assembly Common Fund Secretariat to tell us how much they are paying for each equipment, and we can do a comparative analysis to be sure that indeed people are not using this very important exercise of making road equipment available at the local level to enrich themselves, because I have already told you that one of the problems we have is the centralization of the purchasing. We think that if district assemblies were given these areas that they owe, they could have determined how to even procure these equipments, and maybe whether to do it gradually or to do it holistically like it's been done based on their needs. So we have two problems. One is the centralization of the purchase, and two is the cost of these equipments. And all these two may be addressed based on the information we will get from the District Assembly Common Fund Secretariat as a result of this RTI that we have filed. And if we get the information and we are not satisfied with the cost of these equipments, and we also think that we could have gotten better deals if we had not centralized the purchase, then we will raise the issues for attention.
Okay, thank you so much. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but the minority also had made mention of the fact that they would like to be included in the member committee that is actually overseeing the whole DRIP program. Is this right?
Well, the point that I made earlier about how this whole decision was taken makes it imperative for the members of parliament to be part of how this is utilized at the local level. Remember, I said it was us, the members of parliament, who sat down and did the calculation to detect how much the Ministry of Finance was owing the District Assembly Common Fund Secretariat. And based on the agreement of how much was owed, the decision was now taken to procure these equipment. And I'm telling you that because we initiated this whole conversation and process, it will only be, logical that in its final execution, members of parliament are not left out. But what is more important to us in the minority is the centralization of this purchase, which we have an issue with, and again, the cost of these equipments, which we want to assess to be sure that they have not been inflated.
Well, thank you so much for your time. That was Al-Hassan Suhaili. He happens to be the Member of Parliament for Tamale North. He's also part of the minority. Now, focusing on the DRIP, do not forget, was actually launched yesterday, and basically it was designed to empower metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies with the necessary resources and equipment so they can rehabilitate and maintain roads within their areas. You always have, bad roads, but this is to ensure that within each assembly they have the needed equipment to be able to address that issue. Now, the initiative actually aligns with government's commitment to decentralization and providing local authorities with the tools that they need to effect meaningful change. So basically that's what we're looking at. A total of 2,240 pieces of equipment were actually given yesterday, and this includes motor graders, as you can see on your screens. We also have backhoes, we have rollers, wheel loaders, bulldozers, tipper tracks, concrete mixers, water tankers, and then low beds. Now, these machines are actually expected to play a crucial role when it comes to the nationwide improvement of road infrastructure. So each of these is going to different assemblies, different district assemblies, and it's just going to go all over the country so that they'll be able to address any road infrastructure problem they have in these places. This is some of the key things that the DRIP project actually looked on. Now, the whole potential of the DRIP, they're looking at creating about 10,000 jobs for mechanics, because take note, these things you're seeing in your screen, everything was assembled here. All the machines you're seeing, all the equipment was assembled here in Ghana. And the government hopes that they'll be able to create about 10,000 jobs for mechanics, engineers and artisans. So these are some of the key things that we actually are looking at. Well, we definitely have joining us on the line Dr. Richard Fortiomo. He's actually from the Chamber of Local Governance. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to ABC News GH.
Thank you, and greetings to all your cherished viewers.
Thank you, sir. We want to find out, how do you envision the district road improvement program, the DRIP program, how do you envision it impacting local communities, particularly when it comes in terms of, economic development and access to essential services?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that we agree in principle that many of our internal roads are bad. The reason why, if there is any attempt to improve our roads, it will be good, because once the roads are more traveled, it will have some level of impact on economic benefits and the local economic development in the district. So for that one, we agree 100%. But our point of departure is this government is the illegality that this government has been perpetuating ever since they took office in 2017 with respect to the district assembly's common fund. The constitution of this country, Article 20, gives clear guidelines that there should be local government and decentralization. The same constitution mandates that any government or the state, after collecting revenue, 5% of the total revenue of this country must be put into a fund to be known and called the District Assembly's Common Fund. The constitution went ahead to give Parliament the power to come out with a formula to be used to distribute the funds to the respective district assemblies through the district assembly's common fund administrator. So for us to have government appropriating, if you like, misappropriating the DACF to go and do procurement for and on behalf of the MMDAs is an outright illegality. Number two, the government, knowing very well that the assemblies are supposed to be semi-autonomous. So in coming out with the formula, there are 4 thematic areas that Parliament brings a formula and the common fund administrator is supposed to comply. Number 1, they look at education. They also look at health. They also look at water and sanitation before they come to look at roads. So on what basis will the government now appropriate, I want to use the word misappropriate, the DACF to go and do procurement for equipment that is meant for only roads? Now, the issue at stake is that there is a ministry for roads and highways. Is it the duty of the ministry to now go and procure road building equipment to construct the roads themselves? The answer is no. The ministry always engages contractors who have the financial muscle to pre-finance the project and go ahead and do it. In the assemblies, if the district assemblies get their common fund, they also engage contractors to attend to these same bad roads. That you have a government that has refused to give the common fund to the MMDAs, yet because of procurement fraud, corruption, and thievery, they have decided to do a central procurement for the MMDAs. For that one, we cannot accept it. Well, we agree that the roads are bad and something must be done about it, but this is not the route that we expect the government to take. So we are just waiting patiently. When the legal vacation is over in October, we'll have to invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for interpretation on this matter, because this is a constitutional injunction and we cannot allow the government to misappropriate funds meant for district assemblies. Definitely. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Richard Fiadomo. He's also from the Chamber of Local Governance. You're still watching ABC News now. Basically, he was talking about the fact that, they feel it's misappropriation in the sense that why are they using that amount of money from that District Assembly Common Fund, which looks at different sectors. We're looking at health, we're looking at so many other sectors. So why did they just take that amount of money to focus solely on roads? And roads for him is actually the last when it comes to the list of things. So basically that is what his concerns were. We're still watching, we are still focusing on the DRIP story. It was launched yesterday by the President, His Excellency. We actually have Dr. Paul on the line. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to ABC News GH.
A very good afternoon to you and to your viewers.
Thank you so much. We want to find out, is allocating funds from the District Assembly Common Fund to the District Road Improvement Program truly addressing the immediate priorities of the people in the districts?
Very much so. I am very certain that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's initiative and plan is to ensure that we equip the local authorities, the MMDAs, the MDCs, the MPs, the municipal assembly executives. And we must commend government for ensuring that over 2,240 vehicles have come into Ghana and is being distributed across the 261 districts and the 275 constituencies in this country, of graders, of water tankers, of wheel loaders, of bulldozers, of rollers, of backloads, of low beds, of concrete mixers, and of tipper truck. This is to ensure that we try to continue with the continual reshaping, the continual effectiveness of our roads, and this would ensure that we have good roads in the rural communities and we have good roads in the urban communities. Major and minor roads, link roads with houses are also very much hard and of more trouble.
Yes, but I want to find out, also the minority have actually petitioned and put forward an RTI to find out the exact amount that went into this. They want to seek transparency and accountability.
Absolutely. I mean, our government has been one of the most transparent governments in this Fourth Republic. We are very much assured that this contribution has come from the District Assembly Common Fund, and the MPs are aware of that. They are aware of how much money we have used to procure these 2,240 vehicles and machines that have come into Ghana. And it's okay. I mean, we would be able to give them the total amount when RTI grants them that opportunity. It's not a problem at all. And we must also commend the Sector Minister, the Honorable Martin J. Kosa, for such bold visioning of implementing President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's vision in this regard.
Well, you made mention of the fact that, I mean, this is going to help the district assemblies, and I want to find out, first and foremost, the government took this initiative. The Common Fund is not just for roads, and we spoke earlier to a member of the Chamber of Local Governance, and he made mention that looking at health and other sectors that the District Assembly Common Fund covers, why was it roads? For him, that was the last on the list. Why was it roads that an amount of money was just taken out of and used straight to focus on, when there were other sectors he believed that could have been focused on?
The major reason is that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been the only president that has implemented an Agenda 111, built over 37 hospitals as I speak to you now, started and completed hospitals that were started by President John Agyekum Kufuor, completed those hospitals as well, completed hospitals that were started by John Dramani Mahama, and completed his own hospitals. In addition as well, is building 111 district hospitals called the Agenda 111, 2 major psychiatric hospitals, 1 in Greater Accra region, and there are various stages of completion. And so clearly, if you have been able to stick the liking skills of ensuring that you have health infrastructure ongoing through different means of funding, and then you have roads that are a major challenge in this country, and the government has built over 11,000 kilometers of roads, and if you want to ensure that you give power to the local assemblies to ensure that people who are farming from Bono and Kintampo and the other various regions where farming activity is ongoing, people can be able to bring their foodstuffs early into farm markets where people can farm and make sure that food prices come at a lower cost. One of the best decisions that you can do is to make sure that you have sustainable roads, you have good roads, you have roads that are linking with major and minor roads, and you are making sure that roads are effectively being used by the Ghanaian people.
Government to actually involve local stakeholders, I mean, including the MPs, because they said they actually want to be involved, and community leaders. How are you looking to be able to do that when it comes to managing the drip sector? Because we want to see what steps are actually going to be taken to improve the transparency and accountability in this process.
And so you are aware that all the municipal departments and assemblies are manned by MCs and DCs, and these are the president's representative in the various constituencies and the various departments. There is a working committee, and the working committee is made up of a roads engineer, the sitting MP, the MMDC, a rep from the Ghana Armed Forces, particularly the 48 engineers that are into road construction, the heads of works department, the heads of urban roads, the regional director of urban roads, and the regional manager for feeder roads. And so there is a working committee that is in sync with every single member of parliament and also every single representative from feeder roads and urban roads and Ministry of Roads and Highways. We have to remember that this is a Government of Ghana initiative, fully funded by the government of Ghana through the District Assembly Common Fund, implemented by the Ministry of Local Government Decentralization as well, and then also a partner called JS Plant Pool.
Thank you so much, Mr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa, for your time. Well, he happens to be the government spokesperson on governance and security. You're watching ABC News. Do stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
You can advertise your brand or business on ABC News GH Television. Call us on 030-278-8645 or 050-993-0360 to secure your slot. You can advertise your brand or business on ABC News GH Television. Call us on 030-278-8645 or 050-993-0360 to secure your slot. You can advertise your brand or business.
Well, let's move straight into the world of business. Well, the Ghana National Gas Company Limited has announced a scheduled maintenance shutdown of its gas processing plant and offshore gas export facilities is set to occur from August 1st to August 17. Now, this routine maintenance is deemed essential by the company to ensure the safety, efficiency, and reliability of its operations. The plant shutdown is part of Ghana Gas's ongoing commitment to maintaining high operational standards and preventing unexpected disruptions. And moving on to the next story, Parliament rejects a $250 million ESRP loan. Parliament has voted against the $250 million loan for the Energy Sector Recovery Program. The objective of the loan was to provide funding for the program to support specific activities aimed at reducing the cost of electricity purchases and increasing revenue collection of the distribution utilities. The rejection came after concerns were raised by the minority upon intense scrutiny. Member of Parliament for Asawase Muntaka Mubarak questioned the fact that more than $90 million of this amount will be spent on consultancy alone.
If you find attachment 8 and 9, I will need explanations because it reads as consultancy. Mr. Speaker, if I put the two together, it's giving us $94.8 million. Mr. Speaker, you take 250 million and then about 94.8 is going for consultancy. Mr. Speaker, they should explain this properly. Because, Mr. Speaker, I want to beg this house. Mr. Speaker, it is good that ECD be supported to carry out its core functions. Yes, it is true that we have a lot of challenges and we need to be able to improve it. But, Mr. Speaker, if we have to take 250 and about 90 million of it should be consultancy, please, we need to reject this one. We don't need it. Because it is going to impoverish us.
Can now proceed to put the question. Honorable members, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. Well, definitely the noes have it. And truly, the noes had it. And the motion is accordingly rejected.
Well, let's take a look at some key graphics for this. So you realize that the Economic Recovery Support Fund actually falls under the broader Ghana Energy Sector Transformation Initiative project. It's a $900 million World Bank finance development policy that's actually aimed at strengthening the capacity of the energy sector to implement sector reforms and improve energy sector planning and coordination in Ghana. Now, the financing agreement is between the government of Ghana and the International Development Association of the World Bank Group of an amount of $250 million. The key objectives of the program is primarily focused on restoring financial viability of the sector, curtailing further accumulation of sector arrears and repayment of outstanding sector arrears by 2023. Now, in 2019, government initiated the implementation of the scheme, but then failed to meet its targeted objectives by 2023, and then it was compelled to redesign and extend the implementation period to December 2025. Also, the new objective under this phase includes reducing electricity purchase costs through improved economic distribution, also increasing utility revenues and improving the Electricity Company of Ghana's financial management systems. But then to successfully continue the implementation of the program, government applied for and the idea agreed to provide the loan. You're still watching ABC News. Now we're moving on. The Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin has formally petitioned the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, to reconvene Parliament for an extraordinary session to discuss urgent government business. Now, this appeal was made in response to the Speaker's decision to adjourn the House indefinitely, which has caused dissatisfaction among the Majority Caucus.
Constraints of Mr. Speaker, given the fact that the first Deputy Speaker is out of the jurisdiction, the second Deputy Speaker is also out of the jurisdiction. However, our rules permit or allows us to have a member presiding. So I still hold the view that Mr. Speaker could still have traveled for the NCSL program in the United States. For instance, I am billed for that travel, but I don't think that it is more important than government business that I'm undertaking. We are with immediate effect going to engage our caucus with the sole aim at getting the necessary consent of members to procure their signatories to recall their house in accordance with law. So expect to see a recall request.
Well, that was definitely from Parliament and away from business. Do stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Moving away from that, the Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Oponkroma, during an address at the 2024 Bozia Institute lecture, indicated that developed concept for a new district housing program soon to commence. The event, hosted by the Bozia Institute for Rural and Democratic Development, took place at the Takoradi Technical University in the Western Region on the theme Housing the Future, Innovative Solutions for Rural Development in Ghana.
District housing program, which is soon to commence in a number of districts across the country, will be building a number of settlements in the various districts. Each settlement comprises 41 homes made up of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units. The artist impression of what you see on the screen just behind me. Our expectation is that working with technical institutions like the Takoradi Technical University, working with private sector, working with more affordable financing schemes, and working with synergies on horizontal infrastructure, water, energy and communication, we'll be able to fast-track the development of more housing units in the districts.
The minister also outlined some innovations to make this program successful.
First, a few supply-side innovations. The cost is lower. There's also a low carbon footprint because of the spatial design that we are using. And for our district housing program, it may be of interest to you to note that we will be running on solar, and therefore green energy is something that we are upholding very much. To circumvent land challenges, we are partnering with traditional authorities through the assemblies led by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to get access to unencumbered land. I must commend the chiefs in some of the districts that we are engaging who have already made land available free of charge for the commencement of the district housing program.
Well, moving on to gender issues, founder and convener of the Alliance for Women in Media Africa, Shamima Muslim, has called on the president to speed up processes to assent to the Affirmative Action Bill when the docket of the bill is tabled before him. Parliament passed the bill, decades-long bill, on July 30th, 2024 to address age-long gender inequality in the country. Speaking on ABC News Ghana, the coalition member for the Affirmative Action said she feared the president may delay in assenting to the bill, but urged him to assent to it quickly to allow for swift implementation of the act.
What we are hoping is that when the bill leaves Parliament and goes to the desk of the president, he will commit agency to it and he will sign it. There are a few bills before him, a few bills that Parliament have passed before him that he has not yet passed. We are hoping he has not yet assented to. We are hoping that he will treat the Affirmative Action Bill with the urgency it requires, also because it's an opportunity for him to redeem his image. A couple of years ago, he was at an international conference in Canada, Women Deliver Conference, when he was asked about the low representation of women in it. He said that Ghanaian women hadn't shown enough dynamism, and if we showed enough dynamism over time, the numbers will increase. It was a big blow to the women's movement because we thought that our president should understand the real barriers to women's active participation. What we are hoping.
Well, moving on, we definitely are being joined by Peter Tobu. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to ABC News GH.
Good afternoon, my justice, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and listeners.
You have been a security personnel before. Is it possible to achieve gender equality in the security services?
Thank you very much. Gender equality is actually one of the core values of the United Nations. The United Nations talked about respect for diversity and gender. The United Nations talks about professionalism, core values. The UN has tried as moving towards global peace and security to ensure that the security sector respect the need for gender equality. And that is why we talk about gender parity by 2030, which is a UN goal, and we are all praying to get there. But I think that over the years, you realize that gender equality was not actually anything of interest, or it wasn't actually high on the agenda. It wasn't a priority. But we are consciously making effort to let people know that there is no job that is specially designed for women. There is no job that is specially designed for men. Many of the things that we see, they are just social constructions. What the man can do, many women can do and even do better. And if you go to the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Immigration Service, for instance, you will see that the numbers are beginning to show that women and men alike can provide the desired security for this country.
Definitely. Now, what consideration did Parliament take, especially the Committee of Defence and Interior Committee, in putting together the section on security of this bill?
We look at the national temperature. We look at the data available in Ghana. We realize that more than 50% of the population are women. And we realize that when we talk about security, the role of the woman in ensuring peace and security is very high. There are many conflicts in this world that the participation of women in finding a solution has brought so much relief. So we've gotten to believe that the woman is key in ensuring international peace and security and domestic peace and security. So we do not have a problem in looking at gender parity in the security sector. And that is why I believe that the affirmative action law, it becomes law after the president assented to it. It will bring a lot of transformation to the security sector of this country.
Find out how well did Parliament engage with the security services, their heads on this in the bill. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Yes, please. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, we'll definitely try and get back to Mr. Peter. But let's take a look at a breakdown of the bill in terms of measure to ensure equality in the various arms of governance. So as you can see on your screen, basically there's governance and decision making in the public service, and there's a breakdown of the Affirmative Action Act. Now, the government shall ensure progressive, equitable representation of women in public office, governance and decision making positions. The president shall ensure that the progressive achievement of the gender equality targets that have been set out in the Act in making appointments to ministerial positions, the Council of State, the independent constitutional bodies, governing bodies of state institutions, the public service, district assemblies, and any other office to which the president makes an appointment. Also, appointment under subsection 2 shall be in accordance with the guidelines set out in the 4th schedule. And then a public institution shall include in the annual report of the public institution to the Public Services Commission information on gender equity and equality in accordance with guidelines prepared by the Public Services Commission as set out in the Act. Also, when it comes to Parliament, the Speaker and leadership of Parliament shall ensure the progressive achievement of the gender equality targets that have been set out in this Act in appointments to leadership positions and committees of Parliament. Now, Parliament shall also require accountability from ministries, departments and agencies of government by ensuring that, first off, the sector policies and plans integrate gender and equality objectives and targets, and also the steps are taken for the domestic ratification of all international conventions and regional agreements on gender equity which Ghana has signed and ratified. Who will see? Okay, and also we have subject to, now this is in the judiciary, so subject to the provision of Article 153 of the Constitution, there shall be equal representation of women and men on the Judicial Council. The Judicial Council shall ensure the progressive achievement of the gender equality targets that have been set out in the Act in the appointment of judges to the Supreme Court, lower courts, and also in the appointment of other judicial officers. We also have the Judicial Council, or a subcommittee of the Judicial Council, shall be responsible for monitoring the implementation of gender equality in the judiciary. We have joining us on the line Dr. Frederick Odro, and he's a governance expert. Let's take a look at the intricacies of implementing this bill. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to ABC News GH.
Good afternoon.
I want to find out, do you expect the implementation of the bill in Parliament, the judiciary and the executive to be smooth?
Well, I mean, I was very worried about how we're going to ensure effective implementation, because I'm not convinced about the sincerity of some of our people towards implementation, even passing this bill. If we look at the history, it's taken about 6 parliaments before we've succeeded in passing this bill. Even the current Parliament was virtually dragged to, to pass the bill. So already there is an existing antipathy towards this bill. So once the bill has been passed and when it is signed into law, my next worry is whether we're going to see effective implementation. I'm not convinced about how some of such bills, especially if you look at the law on people with disabilities, how we've implemented that law. and you look at those 1, 2, I'm not overly convinced that there is sincerity on the part of some of the key institutions that must support said bills, whether they will actually do it. So let us have a little cautious optimism that the current arrangement might help to ensure that we follow the bill through to its logical conclusion.
So you're saying that you do not trust the sincerity of the bill that has actually been passed?
Not the sincerity of the bill, but the people who must implement it. Because the passage, if you have a bill that has gone through 6 parliaments, so this bill has taken almost 24 years for it to be passed. So it should tell you...
In and out of Parliament since 2011.
You say?
I think it's been in and out of Parliament since 2011.
Since 2001.
2011. Was that not when the ministry actually started making efforts to put together the affirmative action bill?
There have been discussions about this since 2001. And we've not succeeded in passing it.
Well,
the discussion began in 2001.
Okay, sir.
And we haven't been sincere about that. Even if you remember, this current one, the comments made by the current speaker that it was being foised up. And I was asking myself, don't we see the relevance of such a bill on our development? Because we live in a society which is overly patriarchal. And we have to do all that we need to do to ensure that we can allow every part of the society to function.
That is true.
Look at our governance system.
That is very true. Thank you so much, Dr. Fred Odro, for your time. He happens to be a governance expert, and we're talking about the Affirmative Action Bill. Now, moving away from that and on to Labour, we have the Kolebu chapter of the Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professionals has commenced the withdrawal of service in protest of management's refusal to grant allied health professionals a director position in the top management of the hospital. Now, the federation, which comprises some 23 different professions at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, further indicated it will, in cooperation with other chapters across the country, declare a nationwide strike on August 7, 2024, should its demands not actually be met. Now, joining us is the president of the Ghana Federation Allied Health Professionals, who's also the president of the Kolebu chapter, Dr. Shiraz Ishaku, to discuss this further. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to ABC News GH. Well, we're still trying to Before that, let's take a look at some of the visuals from this.
From tomorrow, we have what we call work to rule. In that case, we are going to work basically based on whatever we have with management. No any additional efforts we put into the work. After which, we will start withdrawing our services gradually. We start with the inpatient withdrawal of our services, where we only work with those who will be in the hospitals, but those coming in will not be taken care of. After which, we will graduate this into almost all the services that we render in the hospital. And by 7th, if nothing happens in Kolebu, then as a national president, I will definitely engage all other health teaching hospitals in the country, and we'll go nationwide through a nationwide strike.
Well, let's go straight on to
from
the world of
tomorrow.
sports. We'll definitely get
we have what we call work to rule. In that case, we are going to work basically based on whatever we have with management. No any additional effort.
the world of sports, as we do every day on ABC News GH, we update you on the countries competing for the most gold medals at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. Now, check back throughout the 2 weeks of events for updated gold medal counts by country. This table will continuously be updated as the medals are awarded. Below are the top 5 countries with gold medals after 75 of 329 completed events. So those are the top. China, and they have 9 gold medals. They also have 7 silver medals and 3 bronze medals, giving them a total of 19. Also followed by France, they have 8 gold medals, 10 silver medals, and then 8 bronze medals, giving them 26. Also, we have Japan. They have 8 gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 4 bronze medals, giving them a total of 15. And then they are quickly followed by Australia, who have 7 gold medals, 6 silver medals, and 3 bronze medals, bringing them to 16. And they are finally followed by Great Britain. They have actually got 6 gold medals, 6 silver medals, and then 5 bronze medals, and that gives them a total of 17. We're moving on into international waters. Donald Trump has questioned the identity of Kamala Harris during the Black Journalist Convention on Wednesday. Trump claimed the vice president and presumptive Democratic nominee had only emphasized her Asian American heritage until recently, when he claimed she became a black person. I didn't know she was black until several years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black, Trump said. So, I don't know, is she Indian or is she black? He quizzed.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is... I think
somebody should look into that too when you ask a continue in a very...
Well, at a rally in Houston, Texas, Vice President Kamala Harris addressed Donald Trump's comments questioning her identity. She characterized his remarks as the same old show of divisiveness and disrespect, emphasizing the need for black women to organize against his re-election bid.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength.
Well, still in the same light of the same story, Vice President Kamala Harris has issued a direct challenge to former President Donald Trump, urging him to meet her on the debate stage. This comes as Trump has been wavering on whether he will participate in their scheduled debate in September. At a campaign rally in Atlanta, Georgia, Harris said, "Well, Donald, I do hope you would consider to meet me on the debate stage, because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face."
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, If you've got something to say, say it to my face.
We're moving on to the world of entertainment. Actress Martha Ankoma and Kumawood actor Kwajo Nkansa, also known as Lil Wayne, have reached an out-of-court settlement in their defamation case. The dispute arose from Lil Wayne's alleged defamatory remarks about Martha Ankoma in a viral video, which she claimed falsely accused her of looking down on Kumawood actors and refusing to collaborate with them due to perceived poor quality storylines. While the exact details of the settlement are not publicly disclosed, it's reported that the parties have resolved their differences without going to trial for 5 million Ghana cedi in damages for defamation, as well as an injunction preventing further defamatory statements. The settlement brings an end to the legal dispute between the two parties. Well, that's all we have for you today on ABC News. But before we go, let's take a look at the headlines that we had today. Leadership of the majority in Parliament caucus has petitioned Speaker Alban Bagbin for a recall. Also, barely 24 hours after the launch of the government district roads infrastructure program, the minority caucus in Parliament has raised red flags. These and some of the major stories that had today were what we brought you. Much for making time. Do have a lovely afternoon. My name is Epifania Jokotokligui. This is ABC News GH.